If you're a heat and air machine technician, are cracked heat exchangers a scam? This is a super important question. I'm Scott Bell. I'm coming to you live for HVAC technician sales secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. So this conversation comes up just about every time I talk to people somewhere in my travels. And it's interesting, a couple weeks ago, I was on a flight coming back from Hawaii, and there was a person behind me. We're just chatting it up back and forth a bit, and the guy says, "What do you do?" And I explain my roles and responsibilities. And he goes, "Hey, I had a technician come out to me and tell me that there was a problem with my furnace. Is that really a problem? Is that true?" And so we should start with this. First and foremost, always do the right thing for your buyer, for your client. Don't make anything up. So you as a technician have a role and responsibility to really understand how furnaces work. You really do want to spend some time doing your own research, and you may have to pay for your own class. There's a couple of guys who travel around the United States. They charge some money for you to go take their heat exchanger class. I think I've taken it 9 or 10 times in the past 15 years. It's been a while since I've taken it, but I've got the cards, I've got the books. I mean, most models and furnaces, you know how to look for stuff. So get really good at understanding dynamics, how things work, what warranties are on pieces of equipment, so that you're not questioned on this. Now, here's the thing. In our world, there's skepticism to begin with, no matter what. And so when you're meeting with a buyer or a client or a potential client, and you're like, "Hey, there's this problem with your furnace," what you need to know is there's that instant, I'm going to go run to Uncle Google and type stuff up. And you, as a technician, really need to go online and see what's being said. Because unfortunately, there are some scumbag technicians out there. There are some scumbag companies out there that lie, cheat, and steal, and they have no problem doing that. Is that everybody? No. It's like 3% of the population. So for you, the danger is to get caught up in this. You're not the police of the industry. You are a technician. And in that role and in that responsibility, you need to be educated so that when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I don't really necessarily think that there's a crack in my heat exchanger," you should be willing to take that thing apart and say, let me show it to you. I've got a video camera. I've got a borescope. I've got something that I can show it to you. Now, there are some companies in your town, in your city, in your jurisdiction that probably have some sort of agreement that says if I have 2 technicians come out and say that there's a crack in the heat exchanger, if we're wrong, we'll buy you a new one. And there's times where, I've been out on a buddy check and I look at a furnace and there's no crack in it. And the technician that was there with me is pushing on me, "Scott, I need to make the sale. I need to make money." I'm like, "No, I got to put my name on that. I'm not doing it. I'm not saying there's a crack in the heat exchanger where there's not a crack in the heat exchanger." And I'm going to challenge you right now to adopt this belief that if there's not a crack, don't say that there is one. You know what you should do from here? Find this URL right above my head, hvactechsecrets.com. Go there, go to a browser, type that in, type in your email address and your phone number, and I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. So once you have your education down, you really need to get good at explaining how heat exchanger works. And it doesn't matter if it's a serpentine, it doesn't matter if it's a tube, it doesn't matter if it's a clamshell. You really got to get good at explaining the operation of equipment. You really got to get good at explaining how that furnace works, how the temperature rise works, how blower motors work. And the reason why I say this is I can pinpoint almost every call that I've been on a technician with, something caused that heat exchanger to crack. And there's really like 4 reasons. There's age, airflow, maintenance, and then manufacturer. So between those 4 things, that is the spread of the universe that's going to cause a furnace to fail. And you're like, "Hey, Scott, how can that be?" Well, age can just be like it's time. Like you look at a 40-year-old furnace, it's got a good ticket for the ride. When you look at maintenance, like that gas valve setting should be set right. Are you too high on heat? Are you too low on heat? You have to know that there is damage caused to a furnace by cranking up that gas valve and turning up the gas pressure too high. And there's also damage to a furnace by doing it too low. You can cause some problems too. So you got age, you've got maintenance, you've got airflow, too small of a return. There's no such thing as too much return air. It's just not possible. But too small of a return, I live in Sacramento. Prior to 2004, there's like a 90% chance that almost every heat exchanger that you go to is going to be cracked because there's not enough return air. Probably, right? There's probably some York Diamond 80s that you get out there. They've got a bad circuit board, but they don't have a bad heat exchanger. Very rarely you find one of those, okay? So what you need to know is if you're going to meet with Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Buyer, 1, be 100% certain that there's a crack in that heat exchanger. And if there's not, don't say that there is. Get a buddy to come out there and check it. Make sure that you have somebody saying, yeah, I agree with you. There's been times where I looked at furnaces early on in my career and they were not cracked. I was wrong. And had I would have gone to the homeowner and said, sorry, there's a crack right here, you know what they would have done? They would have said, hey, this guy's a scam and this guy's a liar, right? Depending upon the company, heat exchanger replacement could be $1,500, $3,000, $5,000. It depends upon if you have to pull the furnace out. It depends upon a whole lot of factors. So do the right thing for your buyer. Don't put them on the market and say that they're a scam. So here is what you do. Let's say that you roll up on XYZ company, okay? And they say that there's a crack in the heat exchanger and they've located it at the top of the cell, and then you actually locate one at the bottom. There's not one at the top, but there's one at the bottom. And so you take a look at this heat exchanger, you take a look at the cell and you find a crack. So, you know, some people just want to talk mad trash. Some people just want to say, hey, look, that company sucks. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Say, look, I understand that they thought that crack in the heat exchanger could have been there. Early on in my career, I probably would have made that mistake too. The good news is you got somebody out here that really knows what they're doing, really knows what they're talking about. Here's where it's at. Here's my pictures. Here's my video. Here's my content. Here is the model numbers, the serial numbers, everything you need to know about this crack in this heat exchanger. And then let them know that, like, at the end of the day, depending upon the state, the country, wherever you're at, they really do have options. Some people may decide to do nothing. Some people may decide to make the repair, which is fine. And some people may decide to get a new system if that's what they choose to do, right? It's not your house. But last and foremost, last on this list, you know, if you tell somebody a part's going to last for 10 years, it's going to last for a day. If you tell somebody a part's going to last for a day, it's going to last for 10 years. There is no way for you to say with 100% certainty that thing is going to crack next week, tomorrow, next month. Okay? It just can't. It's almost impossible for you to guarantee something like that. So stay away from making claims that you can't prove, and you'll keep yourself out of trouble. And please, as a bookend on this, remember to do the right thing for your buyer. Don't make things up. You got one of three things to do from here, just one of three. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon.